Jumbo community, wherever you are a part of this Kwanzaa community celebration, and we welcome you. If you're joining us for the first time, just a very quick review of what Kwanzaa is. It is a yearly or annual celebration that lasts for 7 days. And this very special holiday was created to celebrate Black culture, African American and Black and African culture. And it is during this time that we reflect back on family, community, our nation, and our race, we as Black peoples here in America. Kwanzaa has 7 principles that are called the Nguzo Saba, and that means 7 principles. And it was created by Dr. Karinga exactly 54 years ago. And so we started out on Saturday with celebrating unity. And on Sunday, we celebrated self-determination. Monday, we celebrated, which was the third day, collective work and responsibility. Tuesday, we celebrated cooperative economics. And yesterday, we celebrated or focused on purpose. And today, the 6th day of Kwanzaa, we're here to celebrate creativity or Kuumba. And we have a very, very special celebration leader this evening who's joining us from Savannah, Georgia. And she, I have to say, is she's one of our biggest supporters of this Lived Black Experience project, which, by the way, this programming is one of the special programs that we're doing for the Lived Black Experience Project, which comes from under or sits in the home of the Murdoch Community Center here in Flagstaff, Arizona. But we're very, very happy this evening to have, I call her my big sister, and I call her Sister Gigi, Gwendolyn Glover. And we met some years ago, and she's a phenomenal woman, a phenomenal sister. She's an artist. She's a vocalist. She's an activist. She's a leader. She's just awesome. And she's very big on community, very knowledgeable about Black history and Black culture. And she's one of those individuals who gets so excited this time of the year about Kwanzaa. So I'm going to bring her on right now. Sister Gigi, happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa, and the word for today is Kuumba,
Yes.
which is Swahili for creativity.
Yes. And we are so happy to have you here to be our celebration leader. And so I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sister Bernadine. It's so lovely to be with everyone. Greetings of peace, of love, and light to everyone. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share this 6th day of Kwanzaa. From umoja to imani, may all the blessings of Kwanzaa be yours. Take pride in each other and give thanks for this beautiful Kwanzaa. As you can see, there is the Dogon symbol for Kwanzaa. That is a symbol that Professor Karanga selected to be the symbol for creativity. What does that symbol mean in this particular time in our lives? Well, I remember listening to Sister Bernadine last night, and she was very focused on the whole idea of reflection and thinking and preparing for Kwanzaa. In other words, each of the days, as she was saying, was very meaningful, and that they're not to be taken lightly, but incorporated into our lives. And this particular day, Kuumba, creativity, is about doing just that. We may ask ourselves, well, how do we incorporate Kwanzaa principles into our lives? Well, the symbol of creativity is to do always as much as we can in the way that we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Creativity is something that often people think of, applies to art or painting or how well a person can do a certain thing. But in the sense of Kuumba, it has to do with ancient and living cultural traditions that reflect the best of African thought and practice. This is an opportunity, this week, these 7 days are an opportunity for us to reaffirm the dignity of each of us as individuals in the community and in the culture. The well-being of the family and the community are what we are working on, and the integrity of the environment and our role in the environment, our kinship with it, all of these make up our creativity. So unlike someone saying, oh, well, I'm not creative because I don't paint or whatever, what we are talking about when we say creativity or kuumba is our ability to create with the creator. Now, many of us practice different religions and have different holidays that we celebrate, of course. But I see Kwanzaa as an opportunity for African Americans to reaffirm ourselves, if we choose to, and gives us a chance to rebuild and renew our focus. So creativity is actually a hopeful thing. It says that even though something may be in disarray or maybe something is ruined, with creativity, you can renew, you can repair, you can fix things. If we look at the 7 days, yesterday was the fifth principle, or Nia. And Nia is logically followed by the sixth principle, creativity, if you think about it. The sixth principle follows naturally because it is a commitment to be creative within the context of our national community and restoring our people to their traditional greatness and leaving our communities more beneficial and more beautiful than the generation before. So that requires us to think about what we inherited and what we would like to change. In the if you look at the background of the information, the research that Professor Karanga did to come up with Kwanzaa, these ideas are based on ancient Egyptian ideas. And so there was a tradition of the pharaohs for them to speak about the things that they restored as a result of their particular time as pharaoh. That was a time for them to take their energies, take their resources, and make whatever they found there that was in disrepair to fix it and make it more beautiful. So the African consciousness is one that's often misunderstood, but it is very focused on the ancient African culture, is very focused on making things better for the next generation. We have something that is very nice maybe right now, but how can we improve it? I think that's a beautiful concept, to know that you can always improve things, that you never reached a point where you think you're perfect and everything about you is marvelous and wonderful and there's no need for change. This is how we can keep Kwanzaa a new thing. I don't think it was designed to be a static thing. I think we were all being asked to think and reflect on, what do we want to improve. So I ask everyone who is watching this program, what is it in your community that you think could be renewed or repaired, and how might you do that? As Martin Luther King said, everyone can contribute something. You don't have to have a PhD or speak perfect English, or the King's English, as the expression goes. But if you want to start doing something that's for the greater good, not just for yourself, but for the greater good, what might that be? This idea of creativity is helping us as African Americans to make things better for the next generation. Our children are very important because they are our future. So Kuumba, or creativity, asks us to look at what we have done for our children, or what was done for us as children, and what can we do better for our own children. So there is a very strong connection between purpose and creativity. And then the next piece of the creativity, or Kuumba, is creative restoration. This is the whole idea of when chaos happens or decay happens, we have to take it upon ourselves to revitalize and restore the natural, the spiritual, and the cosmic energy of the world. So the idea is, if you see something that needs to be done, you should work toward having that done. Using all the other principles of Kwanzaa, we can help each other improve situations that have fallen into chaos and decay. So the Kwanzaa principles are telling us to not give up. Don't say that, oh, it's too late, we can't do anything about it. The Kwanzaa principles are showing us, hey, chaos happens, decay happens. So what do? We revitalize and we restore those energies, and we put those to work. I don't know if many of you are familiar with the term Ma'at. It's spelled in English M-A-A-T. But those principles are about reaffirming and restoring truth, justice, propriety, harmony, balance, reciprocity, and order. These are the principles that cause a community to become strong, because everyone understands what they mean and they realize the importance they have to maintaining a good society. These concepts of restoration and progressive perfection are key concepts in the philosophy of Kawaida and reflect a fundamental cultural thrust of the 1960s. Because as you all know, Kwanzaa was started by Professor Karanga as a result of the LA Watts riots in 1966. It was also a great time of Black movement. The civil rights movement was gaining much power. The Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965, there were several things that changed life in America for African Americans. And so by coming up with the idea of Kwanzaa, I believe that uh, Brother Karenga was trying to bring us closer together and to show us how we can restore ourselves. Because, after a riot, everything is completely upside down, inside out, everybody is suffering. So, how can we bring that back together for ourselves and show ourselves that we have made progress? So, I think that creativity was the idea of bringing people together to come up with improvements, to come up with beauty. Uh, Brother Karenga uses very high value words when expressing the various um, background, the reasons for coming up with the 7 principles. So he always encourages us to think high, not low, to think of progress, to think of change, to think of working together for the good of the group, not to the point where the individual is forgotten. Of course not. Everything starts with us. The struggle to do all this starts with the individual. But the movement outward, he always seemed to, from what I can read, he seemed to always want to focus on the positive outcome of doing these things, not to control people, but the positive outcomes. Sometimes we have problems with ancient ideas because as modern people, it seems that ancient ideas seem to be about controlling people. But in my reading of various things, I get the impression that people weren't controlled as much as they knew what was expected of them. It's a slight difference. It's not. It's like a nuanced difference. When you know that you are supposed to help your mother and father in farming or whatever activities you do as a family because it brings you closer together, or you know that when you go to school you want to get the best grades possible because you want to be an outstanding student. That's something to be proud of as an individual, but it contributes to your community. It contributes to your family. When you respect your teachers, that is a good thing for the community. But of course, Kawaida says that we have to be about the business of being worthy of that kind of respect too. So it's not automatic. Our Kwanzaa can actually be used to restore our continental African roots, and it can also be a creative restoration of our relationships with African peoples around the world, as well as within our own country. So this whole idea of restoring is more a piece of creativity than just, oh, I'm an artist, or oh, I'm a writer and I can do this or I can do that. So to restore is what they called in the 60s was to rescue and reconstruct. So I hope that I've helped to explain creativity as it relates to Kwanzaa the way I understand it, and that it's been useful to the listeners and guests.
Thank you so much for that. We actually have had a few questions, Sister Gigi, that I'd like to ask you that have come from your presentation. First
Oh,
of all, I didn't want to guess, but I was wondering if you would not mind sharing how many years have you been celebrating Kwanzaa?
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Uh, that's a great question because, to be honest, uh, I celebrated it maybe about 25 or 30 years ago when I lived in Chicago. It was in Chicago at that time. There were several people doing it. They did it in their homes or either in community centers. It depended on, where you lived and where you went. And I did not understand it at all. When I look at what I understand about it today, it was just like, oh, this is okay. This is like Black Christmas, you know, something to do, something for Black people to do, to get together, to show their solidarity and their pride. I knew there was a lot of pride in it, and people were wearing natural hair and locks and stuff. So it was all a part of that whole Black is beautiful thing. So that's what I thought about it at that time. It's only in the last 2 years since I've been living in Savannah that I've really, really gotten a hold to it.
Yeah, yeah. From your presentation, we have one question that is asking if you would please share with us, what do you think the link is between compassion and community?
Wow. That's a thought-provoking question because I think there's an extremely strong link. Being a wordsmith, I think there's a strong link between compassion and community. They even derive from the same COMP, meaning with. So with passion or with feeling, and community with, and even the word unity, umoja, is part of the word community. So I think that in order for us to have unity, the compassion has to be there, the love, if you will. I think of compassion as being a form of love. And I forget who it was that said that you can't lead the people if you don't love the people.
Yes, absolutely. Could you expound on connection between community restoration and creativity?
Oh, yes, I think that, again, when we talk about Kuumba creativity, we're talking about fixing, kind of like fixing what is missing. Almost like the Sankofa bird says, go back and get what belongs to you. So if you inherit a community, because again, uh, uh, the word Kuumba assumes that we are inheriting something. We all inherit something. It may be, millions of dollars and maybe not. But it's from Cornell West. Thank you. Thank you. If you are, if you have to, a community that you are born into, and there are things that need to be fixed, Kwanzaa basically says, if you see something that needs to be done, you should do something about it, but not in the sense of going around beating people up about it. No, that's not how you do it. You have to do it with love. How would you like to be spoken to? You have to. But community restoration is something that people who live in the community can do themselves. I think a lack of understanding about business principles or maybe real estate and all that, the laws behind all that, and the fact that there is such a thing as developers who go around looking for places to develop. I mean, that's what they do. But, we can do that too. We can develop our own communities. We can get funding, or we can have investors, and we can revitalize our own communities so that we don't have this gentrification pressure. But you can't do that without unity in the community. The community's gotta be together so that when this these outsiders come in, there's negotiation, there's talking, or there's completely shutting them out. Something. You I don't. It's uncomfortable to wake up on. You go to bed Monday night, and then Tuesday, you live in a totally different neighborhood. How
Mhm.
that? So this is why the creativity of getting the minds together and seeing who lives in your neighborhood, who knows how to do what, because you'd be surprised. A lot of people can fix things and build things, and and know how to teach people how to do things in a neighborhood. But
Mhm.
nobody people don't know what their neighbors can do sometimes, and so there's this kind of disconnect. But by right, as an economic development person and as a community development person, I think that every neighborhood should or everyone should know each other and have
Absolutely.
some kind of community communion, or some kind of relationship with each other. And
Definitely.
Yeah, it really is important, because then if something is going on, like gentrification or whatever, the people in the neighborhood will know that this is coming, and they'll be able to do something about it in some kind of way.
Exactly.
That's for another talk. But is that a is
Yeah,
that
no, and and
okay?
I can definitely see us inviting you back to have some in-depth conversation on that. We have three more questions from the audience. This is one of them from the viewers. Is there a connection between creativity and resiliency?
Yes, I think there is, because when I think of resiliency, I think of, we often pray, we pray, please God, don't let anything happen, but we also need to pray for what? Resilience, so that if something happens, it doesn't take us out.
Right.
So when we have creativity as our, we're not being creative is not easy. I'm not trying to make it sound simple, because most of us are afraid to be wrong. God, we don't want to look bad or be embarrassed or anything like that. So creativity says, well, let's try something. So you can't really be. I think you have to be creative to be resilient,
Yes.
because you got to think, okay, can't go out that door, okay, I may have to climb over something. So the creativity has to kick in to have them. But I think that creativity and resiliency are like muscles. They can be stronger in some people than others, because they have more experience.
Exactly. Exactly.
like
Uh,
like right. Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And I do. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we as people of African descent, we have that is just something I think that is innate within us, to use creativity in order to survive. I mean, I think we can look back at many stories, Harriet Tubman, Dr. King, um, John Lewis, so many others before us, and in the present, Sister Stacey
Hmm.
Abrams,
Yeah.
where we're using creativity in order to stand our ground, to position ourselves, as we like to say here, in this project, to take that seat at the table. Um,
Yes.
and that's what this project is all about. Here's another question. How do we grow community creativity?
Hmm. Well, That's a good question. I would think that every community is different, and I think that we need to recognize what it is that makes our community unique, and find maybe one or two people who have a similar interest, who want to build community, and start from there. I think I think sometimes we want to do a big thing, or have a block party or something. But I think nowadays we have to be what is it? Authentic.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be authentic. We have to be unique, and we have to be. I think we have to be truthful. We have to be honest.
Yes.
And that honesty includes understanding that we're in this for the long game. It's sort of like a lot of the political things I talk with people about and everything. I may never see this happen, but that doesn't mean that I don't work toward it.
Exactly.
So you got to really have the view of the long game. But again, that's a big discussion around that. But I think that's assessing what you have in the community right now today is good. Who's got twins? Does anybody have twins? Twin boys or twin girls? Is anybody a former teacher or currently a teacher? Does anybody know how to fix cars? Or just collect a list of all the assets in your community. Start with what you have. Start with the positive. Start with the good stuff that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And that will, and bring people together around that. Because people are naturally want to be around each other. We're social naturally.
Yes.
That's what's been so hard about the pandemic, right? A lot of people suffering from loneliness and, just the monotony of it all. So we need each other.
Exactly.
Each other.
Our one more question, and I like this one from my sister who was here in Flagstaff, and now she is in North Carolina. And she's also another big supporter of the lived Black experience. Can creativity be learned, Sister Gigi?
Hmm. What do you think, Phil? I think so. I think that once upon a time I didn't think so, and I think we are fortunate to be living in this day and age because there's so many people who are, say, naturally creative, who love it so much they want everybody to be creative too. They love being creative. They love, like, break, something falls and breaks and they put it back together again a different way and stick it together and go, I made something. But everyone doesn't feel that way, because for many of us it was stifled as a child. We made something and somebody laughed at it, or somebody said, oh, what is that? That's nothing, that's not good. But you and I go to museums all the time, and I see huge paintings that are just black paint, and it's worth millions of dollars because so and so made it. So creativity comes from within the person out. And I think everyone has to build that muscle, that creativity muscle of being able to say, that's my work, that's good, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I think we are all creative, but we think of it as being art all the time, but it's not that. Suppose you can make a really fantastic pound cake, and only you can do it that way.
Right.
Or it could be in any area.
Economics.
But
medicine.
in medicine, you could be creative in economics. You could be creative in entrepreneurship. in the way you speak to people. Maybe you're a good listener. So you have that as a great creative skill that you can expand on, and you can teach other people how to do it. I think but I think it's like a muscle. But I think, and when we talk about Kuumba in particular, we're talking about restoring and making something more beautiful and more beneficial to the community than it
Mm-hmm.
was before. So if you're thinking in terms of making something beautiful or doing something that's beneficial, that can kind of drive your little creative juices a little more. Well, what would be beneficial
Yeah,
to see? So it's got a little twist on it when you talk about it in relationship to Kwanzaa.
exactly. And we have this question that's been posted on our screen, and Sister Deborah is our chiefess here in the community. And so she's asking, would you agree that everyone is creative in their own way? And I think you've just kind of hit on that. Um, but do you have anything that you would add to this? I take it you agree that everyone is creative in their own way.
Yes, yeah, I think that in the sense of that it is true, but I think when we're talking about Kuumba, we're talking more about creativity as being a restorative act that helps self, family, community, the nation, the world. Okay, so it's outside of self in a certain sense. It's not me on the back porch painting. You understand what I'm saying? It could be. It's not that it's not that. It's just that it's more of a way of looking at your life over the next 12 months and seeing how you can be creative in a restorative way.
I
Because we're you
I
know it's a you see the nuance there.
I do.
I never noticed that until you made me look this stuff up.
See, and this is what it's all about
I
to
had to get creative.
see, and that's what Kwanzaa is all about.
Yes, it
And
is.
that is, I, I know for me, daily, it is all about exactly what you're talking about, how to be inclusive, how to bring everyone to the table. But, I mean, I'm thinking, even on the creative side, let's talk about the arts, but for like Chiefess Deb is she's a very accomplished seamstress, but
Mm-hmm.
but I'm thinking how that fits into this restorative creativity when if she and she definitely would. I know I really don't have a right to speak for her, but because I know her
Mm-hmm.
as a mentor, that
Mm-hmm.
if she were to, she would be willing to create or sew a dress or a suit for someone to have an interview, a job interview. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, I can see how that is a part of the restorative process. If that's
Mm-hmm.
her contribution to making sure that this individual is dressed the correct way in order to get this interview, and as a result of that interview, this person getting that position and is able to become more engaged with the community. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
then, she has done sewing classes for
Mm-hmm.
the new people in the community at our Murdoch Center. So,
Wow.
what do you think about that being a part of restorative creativity?
I think that's exactly in line with it because she loves sewing. Probably she probably enjoys it very much. I don't. So I know if somebody loves sewing, that's special. That's a gift. And
Yes.
then she teaches, so she's helping the young ladies or the young men even in the community learn how to clothe themselves. They don't have to spend a fortune with other people to clothe themselves. And
Right.
some might begin to start their own clothing businesses, right? They
Yeah.
could. And
Yes.
the so that's expanding the community. And if she's teaching boys and girls or males and females, she's teaching people to bust out of this gender thing about who can sew and who can't, when we know for a fact most of these huge clothing conglomerates are Calvin Klein. They're men, men's names and not women's names. There are many, but I'm just saying, when you look at the houses, Dior and
Yeah.
Chanel, these fashion, these are all men. These
Yeah.
aren't. So of course, men can go into the fashion industry and do quite well. So she is part of the fashion industry as a person who sews. So
Hmm.
that can go in all kinds of directions.
Absolutely.
And it can strengthen her community because people could start businesses in those neighborhoods, or they could, trade their clothing off to get something done in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? It could be bartering, could start with other businesses. There's a lot of things, school uniforms,
Hmm.
because we know in the continental Africa, they are trendsetters in the fashion industry. Europe,
Absolutely.
the European houses follow the African clothing and fashion industry now. They're the style leaders. There's
Absolutely.
even, there's Vogue Africa now, I think, right? Isn't
Yes,
there
there
Vogue?
is, and there's also Fashion Week in Africa now, which is
Yes. So
awesome.
they're restoring their fashion industry, because they had a fashion industry that got ripped off by the Dutch and a lot of different other people with their fabrics. So now
Mhm.
they're restoring it back to themselves. So
Exactly.
so creativity, when you think of it as a restorative thing, or a beauty, a thing to create beauty, because beauty in and of itself is enough. Maybe you want your block to be beautiful. Well, is that planting trees and flowers? Is it, some kind of construction thing? You need the roads to go a different way. There are people who can think of these things. They may never have thought about them before, but if they think of creativity as being a restorative, beneficial, beautiful, uh, something of high regard, of high value, that's going to make our neighbors feel good about each other and
Uh,
want to be more in a community. That's creativity.
That is. That is.
That's
I
great.
This has certainly been a wonderful conversation, Sister Gigi. I'd
Oh,
like to share with our community some visual art in celebration of Kuumba. And I'm going to ask my niece, Destiny Evans, if she would share some of the artwork that she has created throughout the years, and I'm
oh,
excited
wonderful.
that I'm excited that she wants to share because
Yeah.
she's still a young lady, um,
Hmm.
and this is what we have to do. This is what we do. Uh, in Kwanzaa, we
Yes.
celebrate our youth and
Yes.
encourage them. And
Hmm.
so, Nisi, I'm going to bring you on.
Okay.
Happy Kwanzaa, Nisi. This is Destiny Evans, and this is the beautiful daughter of Honorable Coral J. Evans. And Nisi, will you share some of the artwork that you've created for the viewers? This is some artwork that she's created through the years.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's nice. Is that an animation piece?
Let's
Oh, we
see.
can't hear you, sweetheart. I couldn't hear you anymore.
Let's see. No, we still can't hear you, Destiny. I'm not sure. Try it now. Say something. Wait. Now. Hmm. Unmute your. Okay. Say something now. Oh, no. Anyway, just show us what you have. I don't know why we can't get any sound. That's one of my favorites.
That's the glamorous glamour girl.
Yeah,
Ooh, look at that.
beautiful.
I really think she
Destiny,
has
share.
a gift for animation. I really do. She really does.
Yeah,
Ooh. Yeah. I think she has a gift for animation. I really do.
she does. Look at that one.
I like that one. Then when the Am I Blue? Yes, you look
Yeah,
blue and red. Oh,
this
that's a
is one that
spaceman?
she just created that one for her mother for a gift
Yeah.
that I
Oh.
love.
Ooh, look at that.
That's my favorite. Thank you, Destiny, for sharing those with us.
Oh, I think she
Oh,
has one
there's
more.
one more
She did one more.
coming. But to me, this is so much of what Kwanzaa is all about, and
Mhm.
um, and especially to be able to include our youth because they are our future. And so I'm very happy. Do you have another one to share, Destiny?
I think she said she was had one more, or she went to. Oh, there she.
There
Oh,
she is.
okay.
Um, if you want to see me in my life,
Uh-oh.
Is your phone on too?
No, we're just getting.
okay, right? There we go. Okay.
Okay,
If
there we
you
go.
want to see more of my art or live animations that I do, I'm gonna put my Flickr account and my other media account so everybody can come in. Like I can teach you how to do some of the art techniques that I've learned, and then I
Oh,
can also
good.
teach you like some writing techniques because I can put my writing there and show my other forms of art that I have. Yes, I do have animation. I've been animating since
Okay.
scripting since I was 11.
Oh, okay. I think I love the animation because I was my son had sent me an article where someone was saying that we need to see more animation of African American or characters
Yeah.
that actually are courageous, of high quality, and who don't get switched into some kind of little blue dot like 30 minutes into the movie, and then they stay a blue dot to the end, and at the end they're a little white girl, and it was originally a black man, something shall remain nameless, but
I
that
know exactly what you're
that
talking
kind of thing. And then when I saw you, I said, "Oh my God, I saw you today," because he just sent me that on Facebook yesterday, and I was reading. I said, because I remember when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an animator. I didn't know what it was, but you can do it. So I'm thinking you can do this thing that this person was saying they would like to see more of.
there's a lot of groups that I can also, for this particular video, I can put a list down to how we can support artists like that. There's an
Yes.
animated show right now that's going on. I've given, money and also even some of my voice acting for it. It's called Black Sands. It's on YouTube. Um, and then Marshall's Parade is going to be another project piece that I've been working on for Second Life. And so it's just trying to get enough like-minded individuals that aren't just seeking the monetary value of it. That's why the projects are so small and we don't see them very often, because it's like with Black Sands, I think it was just one guy in his backyard and he was tired of his kids whining that there was only Black Panther or the Falcon. They were like, we know there's other heroes, but where are they? Or we know there's other heroes, but they're all one color, or they're only this type of like, you know, the macho stereotypical male or the stereotypical female character. Like, why can't we have someone that's different? So he's decided to start pursuing that. So most definitely I can list, it's out there, but it's really small right now. Just a little small flame.
Well, that's good. I will be sure to share it with my son and his, because he's got a Facebook page. I think it's something about Black Panther.
Yeah.
But
a few animators that there's certain issues that I've ran into the subculture of animation where some animators don't think that they don't have that experience, so they don't want to cast doubt or shadow on that experience, so they don't want to touch it at all.
Yeah.
And so, with anime, like with anime or with manga, you kind of see that where it's like, we do have a Black character, but they're a side character, or they're stereotypical because they've never been introduced to our community correctly. It hasn't been it's by the hunter's voice and not by the lion's voice. It's like, we don't look like that. We don't talk like that. Our hair's not like this. Stop that. And then others, they try, but they're shallow. They're shallow attempts, and I applaud them for trying, but you have that disconnect with the community where it's like, it's not enough, or it doesn't make sense to do this. Why are you shoving it down my throat? So I think, like, as a community, before we start making project pieces, we should talk about this and be like, what is a respectful way to take your image and make it a living and breathing entity of its own without demoralizing or dehumanizing you. That you were talking about, it was demoralizing. It was stripping him of his culture and then being like, oh, but in the end it's a happy story, and you're like, no, it's not. You're telling me that my Blackness needs to be white.
Right. White in order to be acceptable.
In order to be acceptable. That's not correct. That is not justified to our royalty, to our beauty. And so with things like that, we need to sit down, because there's been other, like The Frog and the Princess. I don't know if you guys watched
I love that movie. I love it, but
it's about what they were going through, how they were going to have a mammy character, how that she was going to be that plump shaped figure. You kind of like, this is wrong. Why do you still betray this? And then what type of actions can we use? We can boycott you. We can start providing more financial backing to other artists that are working. Like there's Shira Plummer. She's an amazing artist. She was actually kicked out of Marvel because she was pushing for outside, hair. She was like, I don't want to have, this one side character that's Black. That doesn't define you. What defines you is your mind, your beauty, the way you grace. So I think that's the main thing that we have to push with the art, with the media community, is how can we unshackle our minds before we allow it. And I think that's why Black Panther is so popular, because it's unshackled. It's unshackled.
Yeah.
Me on Facebook.
That was definitely a monumental movie for we as people of color of African descent. Is my brother Phil trying to ask a question, or?
Yes, he went online, YouTube, and he found an article on Vice called "The New Pipeline for Black Women in Animation."
Would you please send that to me so I can share it?
I certainly will.
And it sounds like a topic that we should have through the Live Black experience. I like that, and I this year I wanted to find a way to incorporate more voices from our youth. So please send that to me, and we'll make sure that we share that. And I'd like to see that made into um, a discussion during for the Lived Black Experience project.
Perfect to
With
do.
all
Yeah,
of that,
I'll post it. You want me to post it on the Murdoch community page?
Yeah.
you can post it, yeah, or share it in an email because I want to make sure
Yeah,
that
okay.
Destiny gets it
Yeah,
personally.
we'll do.
Yes.
We'll do that.
On Netflix right now. There's an animation. I'm sitting here trying to find
What's
the
the
name
name
of
of
it.
it?
It's Nash
Canva?
Camla. It's
Is it
um,
Canva?
Canvas. Yeah, Canvas. That's
Oh,
the
oh,
name.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's amazing. That's
It's
yeah,
It's
amazing.
beautiful. It's
Yeah, yeah, and
beautiful.
it's this. What you're talking about. So
beautiful,
go for it.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Well,
because you have many cohorts. You have a huge. It's a cohort of people like yourself, young people like you who
exactly.
are on the precipice of this. So, who knows? Maybe they're gonna get some, some good feedback from some African American, people who are in the business. A Tyler Perry
Exactly.
or a Ava DuVernay
Mm,
would be interested
Exactly.
in that
I would.
Exactly.
because he
I
needs to do a
started
feature animation
it.
film. He
That
needs to.
would be
He
awesome.
really
That would
does.
be so awesome. This is truly what Kwanzaa is all about. To our viewers, this is what community really is about, and listening to the voices of our youth, and listening to what's on their minds, and encouraging them. Um, and that is how we strengthen our community. This is how we restore greatness uh,
Hmm.
to our culture and ensure
Yes.
that our story and our history and our culture lives far beyond even Destiny's generation. Um,
Great.
we thank
Into
you,
seven
viewers.
generations.
Exactly. This Thank you so much for joining us, viewers, community. Tomorrow evening is our last evening. And tomorrow we will celebrate Imani, which is
Adorable.
faith.
Faith.
There's my brother.
I gotta
And
have faith, faith, faith. I gotta have faith, 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 faith.
that's it. So I was hoping that you would break out into a song, Sister Judy. So
I did
I,
a little bit, a little bit.
I
You know,
got my
you know, it,
wish.
it's funny. The first Kwanzaa I went to, I did sing a song, and I was
Sing.
telling Phil about it, and I was telling him how my friend's sisters laughed at me. I,
What did you What did
I
you
sang
sing?
"To Dream the Impossible Dream" because
And
that's how I felt about
Sing
Kwanzaa.
it,
You know,
sing it.
will you sing one verse of it to take us out this evening?
sure, sure will.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
viewers. My big sister, who has the most beautiful voice,
Uh
Sister
oh.
Gigi.
I better
Take
be
us
good then.
away.
Okay.
Okay.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the trouble star.
Beautiful. What a wonderful way to end a wonderful evening. And with
Yes,
that
ma'am.
being sung, we light our sixth candle for Kwanzaa, Kuumba. Viewers,
Kuumba.
thank you so much for joining us. Please join
My
us
pleasure. My
tomorrow.
honor.
Thank you so much, Sister
You're
Gigi.
welcome.
Thank you,
Thank
Nisi.
you.
Thank
Anytime.
you. Thank you,
I love you
community.
all.
Going great.
Thank you.